Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And we read few Quranic verses in this session. And we are doing it in the sequence of the way the Quran is arranged. So we are reading from Surah Al-Baqarah, and we had done up to verse 61 in the last session. And we'll begin with verse 62. This verse is one verse which is talked about quite often regarding the same question that we were discussing. What about the possibility of the faith of non-Muslims? Is it going to be acceptable or not? Verse 62 and of Surah Al-Baqarah and verse 69 of Surah Al-Ma'idah are almost the same. It's a slight change of words. It says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الذين آمنوا والذين هادوا والنصارى والصابئين. Indeed, those who have believed and those who were Jews and Christians, والصابئين and Sabians. Man amana billahi wal yawmil akhir. Whoever amongst them believed in Allah, God, wal yawmil akhir, and the hereafter, life hereafter, the last day. Wa amila salihan, and did good deeds, performed good deeds. Falahum ajruhum inda rabbihim. For him is going to be the reward with his Lord. Fala khawfun alayhim wala hum yahzanun. They will have no fear of the future, nor any grief of the past. The context of this verse, as we can see from the earlier verses that we have read, is that the Almighty is telling the Jews, the people of the book in general, children of Israel, but Jews in particular, Jews are the children of Israel, that contrary to your understanding, your claim that it is you who are the chosen people, it's strange. Like Muslims, the Jews do have this claim, a very strong claim, that they're chosen people. And in fact, the Quran has also mentioned it about them, that we gave you superiority over all mankind. So that mention of the Almighty had its own context, it has its own purpose. But when you misunderstand a statement or a claim, and you try to apply it to areas where it's not legitimate, warranted, then misunderstandings start. That is not also, a big deal, so long as I mentioned, if you are prepared to talk to others politely with an open mind, all misunderstandings can be removed if we have the proper etiquette, decency of talking to each other, understanding what others are saying. But these Jews, they thought that they were the chosen people, and they are the only ones who are eligible to get success in this life and the next life. The rest are actually, they have been created for us, to serve us. The Quran in the first half of Surah Al-Baqarah is removing this misunderstanding by mentioning from history incidents and the Almighty's decisions that make it absolutely clear that they were not God's chosen people in the sense that they thought they were. So after having described the various different parts of their history, particularly the ones that we talked about and read in the last verse, wherein the Almighty said that they went as far as killing prophets unjustifiably. So, this is what you have been doing in your history, and you have the face to claim that you are the Almighty's favorites. So after having mentioned all this verse now says that it's not belonging to a particular religious group that would make you eligible for the Almighty's blessings. Uh, that's not the case. What is important is, and what is the Almighty's decision regarding eligibility of success in the hereafter is your performance. If you perform properly, genuinely, according to the expectations of the Almighty, no matter who you are, no matter what religious group, sect you belong to, you'll be successful. So, in order for this concept to be clarified, the Almighty has mentioned four religious groups. Inna lazina amanu, Muslims, those who believe in this message. Wallazina hadu, and those who were Jews. Wan Nasara, and the Christians. Was Sabine, and the Sabians. So the four groups have been mentioned. And then it is followed by the statement, Man amana billah, whoever amongst them believes in Allah properly, wal yawmil akhir, and the last day, wa amila salihah, and does good deeds. These three criteria, whoever satisfies Muslims, Jews, Christians, Sabians. Now, I mean, one has to be an extremely ordinary person in intellect if one says that these are the four types of people, groups of people, and this list is exhaustive. Not at all. It's really just suggesting that anybody else too. Why these four? Because they were the people known in the Arabian Peninsula at the time when the Quran was being revealed. That these are the religious groups. Obviously, the polytheists could not be included, but because they didn't believe in Allah properly. So the three criteria are belief in Allah, the next life, and good deeds. Whoever satisfies these conditions is eligible to enter the paradise. Uh, the rest is actually a description of the paradise. Uh, for them is going to be their reward with their Lord, and they will have no fear of the future, no sorrows of the past. Whenever the Quran describes the paradise in a nutshell, it's these two aspects of the paradise. Well, one aspect with two shades has been mentioned, that in this life, we have two serious problems, quite apart from others. We fear for our future. I mean, if you don't believe properly, then the future is actually very gloomy. That's what I keep saying. If you don't believe in anything, you've got to be alcoholic. There's no other way for you to be satisfied. I mean, you've got to get lost, honestly. Otherwise, the fear of the future is going to haunt you. You'll not be able to live properly. So that is what is here in this life. The Almighty says it's not going to be there in the next life. There's going to be no future of the future. I have no fear of the future. No death, nothing. You know, here when you start seeing your hair disappear, your teeth start, getting not properly functional, and so on, then you also think about something else. Sooner or later, more likely to be sooner than later, probably going to visit the graveyard to sleep there. So obviously, it's something that scares you. It's haunting. But in the paradise, there's going to be no such end that you will face, and no sorrows of the past, no griefs of the past. Why? Because the way a person is going to be treated in the paradise, he will have no regrets for his performance that he made in the last life. Many of his relatives are going to be with him, friends. And the strange thing is that the ones who are not going to be there, he will have no grief for them. Very removed. So that's the paradise. But the more important part of this verse is that, and I tell you, most of the translators have translated it in this way, that those who have believed and those who were Jews or Christians or Sabians, and the translation I'm reading from says in brackets, before Prophet Muhammad. So, the question why I was about to raise has been silenced by this bracket. So, there are many people who say that this is not applicable now. This is a statement regarding the people of the past. My response is yes and no. I mean, yes, obviously, if there is somebody who's come to learn about the message of the prophet, last prophet, and is convinced that it's right and he rejects it, then obviously, the person is actually not rejecting the prophet or the book alone. He's rejecting Allah, God. So I think belief in God includes it. There are passages of the Quran. There's one verse particularly which says, "Oh, prophet, they are not rejecting you. You're actually doing injustice to the message of the Almighty. They're rejecting me. Who are you? You're my representative. So if they are rejecting you, they're actually rejecting me." So when the Almighty says that the first condition for a person to qualify for the paradise is belief in God, then it includes belief in prophets, provided the message of the prophet or prophets reaches people and they will believe. The next is uh, the life hereafter. It seems that in itself is a condition. But again, if the understanding of the life hereafter has not been presented properly, then a person can have an excuse. But the fact of the matter is that we all have been given a very strong inner inclination, yearning to have a good future that should last forever. Because we are not introduced to, many people have not been introduced to belief in life hereafter properly with its sound arguments. And they have been put off by the behavior of religious people. They are deprived of that faith belief. And the end result is that they then satisfy this inner inclination by thinking or dreaming of something great that they're going to create in this life, which does make sense. I mean, I not long ago I talked to a, a friend, a colleague of mine, who is a very strong, call it communist in his understanding and approach, and he works for it. And I actually said to him sincerely that you know I look at you and I idealize you in some ways. The way you are devoted to your ideology, the way you are working hard at it. I mean, so you're so sincere. But what exactly are you doing? You are striving and struggling to make the life of poor, exploited people better. It's fine. I mean, it's a very noble cause. I admire it. But if you make it your only target objective, then what are you trying to achieve? I mean, there's so many people who have lost their lives. They're already gone. And they've gone through miseries. And what you're doing is probably going to bring some fortunes to some people. So why do you not work for uh, the ideology, the narrative that says that justice is going to be done to all humanity, whether people who've already lived this life and passed away, whether the people of our generation, our era, or in the future. I was expecting a very strong response from him. Well, he said, Khalid Saab, I believe in Allah and the life hereafter. And the discussion was over. Fine, I mean, it's fine. So, what I'm saying is that without life hereafter, nothing makes sense. And we'll talk more about it when I talk about life hereafter in the next, one of the future sessions, inshallah. So, and good deeds. Amila Salihan. Those who do good deeds. So, these three conditions need to be satisfied. If anybody satisfies these three conditions, he is going to be eligible for the paradise. Uh, It's only for the Muslims now, and non-Muslims are not eligible for it. And it's a statement that was made for Jews, Christians, and Sabians of the past only. Well, no, that's not the case. Anybody who rejects the last prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is indeed a kafir. But by rejection means rejecting the truth that the person understood and then started opposing it and rejected it out of arrogance. I've already explained it. Otherwise, if a person uh, does his best to know what the truth is and doesn't reject any truth that comes to him, and only Allah, God, can decide who has rejected a truth that has come from him or not. If anyone satisfies these three conditions to the extent possible, la nukallifu nafsan illa wusaha, the capacity that one has within that capacity, then the Almighty has promised the paradise. Just one word for the groups that have been mentioned. I've already mentioned that these are the religious groups that were there at the time when the Quran was being revealed. Muslims we know, Jews we know, Hadu, Yahud, this word. There are different explanations. Probably the most well accepted is that this was the name of one of the sons of Yaqub alayhi salam. And the entire group family came to be known by that name, Yahud. One Nasara, the expression Nasara or Nazarenes was used for the Christians at the time when the Quran was being revealed in the Arabian Peninsula after the demise of, or after Jesus Christ left this world. They were known as Nazarenes. There was a struggle between the genuine followers of Jesus Christ and Saint Paul and his followers for quite a while. But then there came a time when Saint Paul's narrative about Christianity, it was able to dominate and overcome the challenge of the other understanding. So now people are described as Christians, but Nasara means those who were followers of Jesus Christ or claim to be the followers of Jesus Christ. Or Sabians was a small religious group about whom there are various different statements, but one statement that is made, which is quite common, is an absolutely wrong statement, that they used to worship stars. I mean, how can worshippers of stars be included in a list of people who will be eligible for the paradise? I don't know. How is it possible that people they don't read the Quran and try to make sense out of verses by comparing one statement with the other? But the more likely explanation about sapiens is that they were the ones who had this habit of getting up early in the morning, well, late in the night, and they would have a certain link with the stars. They were good at understanding the movement of stars, and they used to pray. It is said like the Muslims pray. In actual fact, in the early part of the Islamic, call it history, in Mecca, many people said that these people, the Muslims, are actually Sabians, because the prayer was almost the same. There is another claim that there is a small number of people who are called Sabi, Sabians in Iraq, and they are said to be the followers of Yahya alayhi salam. But anyway, what is important is that the verse is talking about four different religious groups and is explaining that anyone from amongst them or any other religious group, whoever believes in God, the life hereafter, and does good deed, he is going to be rewarded with the paradise. This misunderstanding of the Jews has been removed, and for the future purposes, the misunderstanding of Muslims has also been removed. Well, theoretically, academically, practically, the misunderstandings stay because people love the narrative that informs them that we are the best. Yes, we are the best. Why not? So that kind of feeling is there. Okay. وَإِذْ أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَكُمْ وَرَفَعْنَا فَوْقَكُمُ الطُّورَ. And recall the time when we took your covenant, وَرَفَعْنَا فَوْقَكُمُ الطُّورَ, and we raised over you the Mount Tur. So it is mentioned about them, about the Jews, about the followers of Musa alayhi salam, that he took them, their representatives, to the Mount Tur, and there was a covenant, there was an undertaking they were asked to make, and there was this miraculous uh, experience that they had. At the Mount Tur, it seemed as if it has, you know, uh, it's there above their heads like a ceiling. It's hanging there to cause them to be, yeah, to be scared. Why? The reason is that any message which is taken non-seriously would not would not be accepted, would not actually be, no justice can be done about it. And in religion, the most important, you know, reason why people are not interested in religion is that they are distracted by other attractions, so that they don't take interest. Now, similar was the attitude of these people. And in order for them to be serious about what was happening, there was this arrangement that was made by the Almighty, and tools hung above them, and then they were made to realize that something very serious is happening. خُذُوا مَا آتَيْنَاكُمْ بِقُوَّةٍ. And it was said, take what we have given you with determination. وَاذْكُرُوا مَا فِيهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. And remember what is in it so that you are saved from punishment. That is, what is happening right now to you is something God wants you to take seriously. Read it, understand it, and follow it. If you're going to take it casually and ignore it, then you will be punished. So save yourselves from punishment. ثُمَّ تَوَلَّيْتُم مِّن بَعْدِ ذَلِكَ. Then you turned away after that. You turned away. Who? The earlier Jews. But it's being said to the people who were present at the time of the revelation of the Quran. They didn't do it, but they are being blamed for it. Why? Because they owned it. They were proud of it. They said that these are our ancestors and we are the chosen people. So if you all along have been the chosen people, then why did you do it? So, this uh, address to them directly is justifiable. فَلَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ وَرَحْمَتُهُ. And if it was not for God's favor upon you, وَرَحْمَتُهُ, and His mercy, لَكُنْتُمْ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. You would have been amongst the losers. That is, despite your uh, unimpressive behavior, you didn't perform well. You were, ignoring your God's message, not taking it seriously. And the Almighty continued to forgive you, to provide with more opportunities. Had those opportunities and favors of the Almighty not fallen upon you, you'd have certainly been amongst the losers. وَلَقَدْ عَلِمْتُمُ الَّذِينَ اعْتَدَوْا مِنْكُمْ فِي السَّبْتِ. And you already know about those who went beyond limits regarding Sabbath, the law of Sabbath, Saturday, wherein they were asked not to do anything worldly and just focus their attention on remembering Allah. فَقُلْنَا لَهُمْ كُونُوا قِرَدَةً خَاسِئِينَ. And we said to them, become apes, monkeys, despised. So it is said that despite the fact that they knew that this expectation was from God, they ignored it. They started devising ways, tricks to dodge the law of the Almighty. So, when you do something of that sort, what you're trying to show is that you're smarter than your creator. I mean, violating certain expectations here and there is bad, but it's not quite as seriously, in the category of being criminal as if somebody actually does something wrong and starts justifying it, and goes on to actually create an impression that what you're doing is right. And that's, going beyond all limits, that you're trying to dodge the Almighty. So this is exactly what they did. So we said to them, become apes, uh, despised. Uh, did it happen literally? Yes, it happened literally. I'll tell you why. Uh, the next verse would clarify. I mean, the expression "you become apes" could be taken both ways. It could be allegorical, it could be literal. But it should not be considered allegorical simply because, it looks more acceptable. You know, no, we have to be honest to the text, and find out what the text is suggesting. Uh, the next verse says, "فَجَعَلْنَاهَا نَكَالًا لِمَا بَيْنَ يَدَيْهَا وَمَا خَلْفَهَا وَمَوْعِظَةً لِلْمُتَّقِينَ." And we made it a deterrent punishment for those who were present and those who were in the surroundings. So obviously, if it was a punishment for the people who were in the surroundings, only a change in their behavior would not have been enough. People do behave like apes. I mean, what they're pretty much good looking. I mean, they look impressive. So how could it be a deterrent? So they actually there was a change in their appearance as well, somewhat, or maybe completely. And this became a reason for it to be a lesson for those lil muttaqin who feared Allah. وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِقَوْمِهِ. No, that's where I must finish, because then there is another story. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله.